Hi there. I'm Hanne Nutinen, the Channel Business Podcast host. And as you can see, I am out here in the woods. And why I'm here is something that I want to share with you now. The Channel Business Podcast that I'm hosting is all about sharing ideas, business tips and insights for leaders, future business owners, and every person who wants to develop your own ideas and thoughts and practicalities, the methods to take businesses and your leadership skills forward. But what is special about being here up in the woods is that Channel Business Podcast is taking part to Superwood Festival, which is all about Northern oddity. It's all about combining different arts, music, industries, businesses, people from different backgrounds and different interests together to make new critical thoughts, ideas and innovations forward, and just to have fun and relax. So I was truly excited when Paula Suhonen, the person behind the brand called Ivana Helsinki and the organizer of Superwood Festival, asked me to join with my podcast, Channel Business Podcast, to be part of the Superwood Festival in year 2022. So what we did there at the Superwood Festival in the woods and with the Northern Oddity and the Scandinavian Design Studio was that we are diving into business topics with Finnish entrepreneurs from different industries.
I'm originally from Sami reindeer herding family, north from Inari, and
That's very, very north.
yeah, about 300 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. Really learned about the industry, and I thought, well, I like the product myself a lot. This makes sense, and there definitely could be interest for this kind of product in Finland. Of course, we are not shooting in dark, so there's a lot of thinking behind our major decisions, of course.
You will get to hear some business tips, insights, lessons learned, and I hope that some new ideas how to take your business forward or how to take your leadership forward. So let's dive into the woods and see what the episodes will give to you. Well, welcome to the Channel Business Podcast with Hanne. Today I have a special guest here in Superwood Festival. We met here with Nilla from Lapland, northern part of Finland, and Nilla represents a company called Nålla. So there's a little play with the
That's
the
actually
words,
a coincidence, nothing to do with my name. I actually realized it only afterwards that it's actually quite close to my name, but that's not what we were after. And it's not just my company, of course. I have associates and so forth.
Understood. But let the audience also know who you are and where do you come from.
Let's start with the nature sound of the day.
Should I have that one also?
But of course.
Well, I tasted that before, so now I'm going to have this one.
Yep.
Okay. So while we are opening and having that sound.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Keep this.
Tell us what we are drinking here.
Well, this is our hard seltzer from northern Finland, Lapland. Basically, the drink type consists of bubbly water, some alcohol, and fruit flavoring, so you won't taste alcohol in it. The reason to drink this is that it's the lowest calorie alcoholic drink imaginable. So our name Nolla, it means zero in Finnish, written in a fancy way, comes from the fact that there's 0 calories on top of what alcohol contains. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, 0 additives, vegan, and so forth.
So it's good in that sense.
It's good in many sense. More you drink, more calories you save. And that's great.
Okay. But tell us who is the man behind the company and behind this Nolla drink and idea.
Sure. So I'm originally from Sami reindeer herding family, north from Inari, and
that's very, very north.
Yeah, about 300 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle, and that's where I grew up. I have one uni degree from Finland. I'm actually an engineer by trade, and then I went to do some further studies in London. So I'm also master's in finance from London School of Economics.
And you worked in London area for some time in finance industry, as I've
Yeah,
understood.
about a decade. Yes, mostly in London. I also worked for about a year in Sweden, also in finance, and then I did an MBA in Singapore.
Okay,
And,
so to the other side of the world.
yeah, sure. But then I moved back to London, and for the last 7 years or so, well, I basically worked in London before launching my own company.
But what was so fascinating to you in this finance industry? You worked there in different roles, as I understood. As
Sure.
investment banker and...
Yeah, I worked in investment bank, mergers and acquisitions, and then I worked for 2 private equity companies, and my last gig was in a hedge fund.
So that's a different variety. You've seen the world in different
Well,
financial lenses and through finance.
I presume in some sense, yes.
Did you like that, or why did you make the shift now?
I wouldn't have stayed there for about a decade if I didn't enjoy the job. Like with any jobs, you have ups and downs, especially when I started right after uni. Well, you learn the ropes the hard way. Working hours, wages, is mental, and so forth. But little by little, it got better. And the last company I worked for actually really liked the job. Well.
And I suppose you saw different companies and different enterprises while you were working with their finances and trying to help them to go forward and grow.
Oh, yes, sure. Best memories was, well, some of them visiting an underground coal mine in Australia, 300 meters below ground. That was quite cool. And then an iron mine in Brazil. And then, well, actually, where I got this idea for my own business.
I was just gonna ask.
Yeah,
How did you get that?
I was analyzing retail shares, large cap US retail stocks, and actually the fund I worked for, we had quite sizable investment in a big US retail chain, and it just happened that a colleague of mine left, so it became my responsibility to know the whereabouts of this company, which has Dollar General. It has about 16,000 stores, so I think nowadays maybe 18,000 in US, more than McDonald's. And
so
my boss, well, very, very big retailer, and boss asked, well, have you ever been to one? I said, no. So his suggestion was for me to jump into a plane and fly over and visit these stores, which I did in droves. And that was autumn 2019, and that's was my when I found out about seltzers. So 2019 in the US, it was so-called the summer of seltzers. So that's when they really had their big breakthroughs. So all the stores I visited on a lot of shelves, I saw seltzers and actually got quite interested. And then a year later, I got this assignment to analyze big breweries, and that's
Somewhere
when I
around
really got accustomed with seltzers. We ended up investing in US market 2 player in seltzers, which is a company called Boston Beer. They make Sam Adams craft beer and then truly hard seltzers. So I really learned about the industry, and I thought, well, I like the product myself a lot. This makes sense, and there definitely could be interest for this kind of product in Finland, and there already were some copycat products
elsewhere
in Finland. Well, that's what I thought. I'm sure these brewers don't think they're copycats, but I mean, it's difficult for established consumer goods companies to catch a new way the next big trend, because they have a legacy brand package.
Right.
So Me and some friends of mine, we thought that a nimble new player with an exciting brand, there could be a business opportunity in Finland and also in Europe in general. So
you hit that spot and just went to and explore that.
yeah, sure. So we actually were supposed to hit the markets already summer a year ago, but we already had our website up and things looked good. This was something like mid-May. And then we got the message from our can supplier that they had experienced a cyber attack. All their factories worldwide, they were closed for 2 weeks, and their feedback to small brewers was that not going to happen. Heineken, Coca-Cola, and Red Bull might get their cans for this summer, but no one else. So, man, I was actually cross-country skiing in northern Finland. Then I was skiing to Halti from Kilpisjärvi, and this was maybe 10 o'clock in the evening. I got this email. I was in some cabin there. I got so angry. I just jumped on my skis and started skiing to the next cabin in a big snowstorm, cursing all the time.
That was crazy.
Yeah. Well,
that's dangerous.
After 3 hours in the next cabin, I was calm enough to be able to sleep. But yeah, it was a big disappointment.
Of course.
But then we hit the markets in autumn a year ago. Who introduces seltzer in autumn? This is not a... Well, we try to position our drinks for consumption throughout the year. But it's no secret that Finnish people drink more alcohol during summer, and seltzers are a bit light drinks. So consumption is stronger during summer months. So
because of the heat and sun and all that.
And this kind of things. So who introduces new seltzer in autumn? Well, we did. And
you're gonna try something, and you have to take the risks. I think this is what you are telling.
So that's what we've been doing ever since.
And how's the business going now? The name is very different. It's appealing.
We hope so.
Yeah.
Of course,
and the drink
us
is
being
different.
called zero in Finnish, there's sometimes people think that we are a zero alcohol product, which we are not. So, but well, we chose the brand, and that's what we're gonna need to play with now. So we're sold maybe 230,000 cans thus far, and our products have been in over 1,000 stores nationwide in Finland. So
and that's a big number for, I would say, a startup that has been here for just only very little time.
Yeah, I presume it's reasonably good number. I don't have a background in beverages industry. I have a big background as consumer of beverages, but so I don't know what would be the exact number to target in first year and so forth. But our understanding is that the launch has been reasonably successful. Yes.
And you know the finances because you've been in that industry, so I would say that you have all the numbers and calculations there.
Yeah, but with the startup, that's one of the easy jobs. The much more important and difficult is creating customer. And you don't do that with an Excel sheet. So it's nice to be able to calculate, but that's not what launching a beverages company is all about.
So tell us, what is this whole thing all about? Like, how do you expose to the markets, and how do you take the customer experiences?
Well, our brand is definitely Northern Finnish. Half of our founders are originally from Northern Finland, and that's where our headquarters actually are. Also,
is that in Rovaniemi or Inari?
Inari.
Inari.
Yeah.
We
You have
very far.
You have our headquarter address in every can printed here, and that's Inari.
Cool.
So that's our brand. How we try to differentiate from competition? Well, one thing, we are the only seltzer-only brand in Finland. So there's the competing products. They are basically products from big breweries, and they do have legacy brand package. I'm not saying that all the competing products are bad. Definitely not. There's actually some good seltzers, other seltzers too in Finnish markets, but we try to be really the seltzer company, which can be seen in our can design, there's some by now relatively well-tested things in US how seltzers should look. So you should have a so-called sleek can because it's low-calorie product. So it emphasizes that attribute, and then, well, it should be either white or black, which says it's pure. And
so you have all this knowledge that you use from your earlier experiences.
Yeah, sure,
and your, I would say your network, I assume.
Yeah, but that's table stakes in the industry, really. Of course, we are not shooting in dark, so there's a lot of thinking behind our major decisions, of course.
I like that. I like that. So before we ending this nice discussion and the story, I would like to know, and for the audience, to give a few tips from your journey being an entrepreneur. What would be those tips that they should do or they should acknowledge?
Well,
besides
I can only talk about what has worked for me. Probably same things don't work for everybody. I always benefited from reading as much as possible. So
reading different things.
Reading different things and talking to different people. I mean, the idea to go to study outside Finland, it came from some stupid student magazine. Idea I got interested in finance through reading some engineering magazine which there was some small article that mentioned a famous investor, and I got interested and Googled that guy's name, and that's how I knew I want to study finance. I had no interest in finance whatsoever before that. Well, what has definitely helped us in our journey thus far has been that we have been working most of our founders for a while, so we don't have necessarily equally strict capital constraints that some people directly out from school eager to launch their own enterprise would have. And also we've been able to build networks that definitely help in this business.
So it's beneficial, meaningful networks that can help you in different
Well, that
areas.
has helped us, definitely. And all these cool networks through MBA and so forth, it has been very helpful.
So those would be the tips.
Well, that have worked for me. I'm sure there's a lot of counter examples of people who drop out of high school and launch successful companies, but at least I found these things
very
beneficial. Yeah.
I like that, and I think those are really, really good tips for any one of us who's entrepreneur or who's thinking of being an entrepreneur. So study everything and anything. You never know where you're going to end up. Build the network worldwide if possible. And of course it's possible nowadays. And just go and do the things that you feel passionate about, right?
Well, that's probably quite a good summary, yes.
So we ending up with this probably quite good summary. But Nilla, I truly want to thank you for being here in this Channel Business podcast to share your experiences and the ideas and perspectives that you have. And I think it's amazing thing that you jumped out of very, I would say, lucrative job and industry from finance that is always needed to very risky business, which is consumer consumption. Different beverages.
I've enjoyed the ride thus far.
And it seems good, and we ended up knowing each other here just because we were just so social people and just wanted to know whatever each one of us are doing, and here we are. Doing different things. So.
Sure, cheers for that.
Cheers for that, and cheers for networks and Superwood Festival.
Thank you.
Thank you.